So Guillermo Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities has released its first 2 episodes tonight. We will get 2 more episodes tomorrow and 2 more episodes for the next 2 days after that, for a total of 8 episodes altogether, right before Halloween, just in time. So we watched, of course, both the episodes. We're going to talk about Lot 36. We'll do a real quick, thoughts, and then we'll get into the spoilers. So what are we thinking about this episode and the series so far in both episodes? I'm really big on it. I quite enjoyed both of these, actually. I don't know which one I would prefer yet. Maybe this one. I didn't know if I was going to like the next one as much in the beginning, because I thought the acting was a tad hokey at first. But once it got into it, and even though it was something we'd seen before, literally, and recently, I really, really enjoyed the rest of it once things get going. But what do you think of this episode and the series overall so far?
I'm really big on it too. I think that it has, both episodes that have been released, they're directed by different people, but they sort of have a similar theme as far as like the message of the story. And I like the feel of both of them. They're set in different times, but I feel like both have this kind of like gritty, antiquated kind of feeling, even though the first episode is not that long ago, but for some reason it still had like a vintage air to it, I guess you could say. I don't know which one I prefer. I liked both of them a lot, but I know what you mean about the second episode having kind of some hokey sounding dialogue and acting in the beginning, but I do think that is part of the antiquated like feel. It's very Lovecraftian and yeah.
Yeah. So, definitely a thumbs up. Definitely worth checking out. So if that's all you're here for, you should watch it. The first episode's 45 minutes long. The second episode only comes in at 38 minutes long. The one critique I would have for the first episode and not the second episode is that I thought that there was plenty here in the first episode for a feature-length film. I do think it hurts this episode a bit just because I feel like we could have got a lot more out of it. It had a collector feel to it if the collector was a monster. Right? It's a guy who, as far as the plot synopsis, before we get into spoilers, if you just want to know, this is about a storage facility that is auctioning off a storage unit. And this guy who's hard on his luck currently, or down on his luck. Are those the same things?
Hard on his luck?
Yeah, I don't think hard on his luck is a thing.
But down on your luck is
I'm
definitely
combining
a phrase.
two things.
Yes.
I'm combining two things. He's fallen on hard times, and he's down on his luck.
Yes.
There it is. Something like that.
Yeah.
So he ends up buying this because he needs money quick. He owes some unsavory people a good amount of money, and he needs that money by tonight. Very collector, as I said. And once he gets in there, he finds out that there's more to the storage unit than he would have, that he bargained for, right?
Yes, bargained for, exactly.
Literally.
Yes.
So that is that. As far as the director of this goes, he worked with Guillermo Del Toro on like Pan's Labyrinth and whatnot as like maybe a second unit director or something like that. But other than that, he's only ever done television episodes, which this is a TV episode. Production value is high.
Yes.
I think the creature design is super cool and probably the absolute highlight of this. I also really like that in the first 2 episodes, and because, like Kaylee alluded to, there is this morality tale to them. This is like the 7 deadly sins personified kind of thing. You do have protagonists that are antagonistic. You don't have squeaky clean, likable characters. right? Like both the leads of both the episodes are kind of despicable people who do despicable things and have despicable things happen to them because of it, as a result, right?
They get their comeuppance.
Sure. So as I said, they are morality tales.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the style of both of them are solid, and I really like the drob and dreary feel of both of them. They have very muted color palettes.
Yeah, it's like grittiness that I was talking about.
Yeah, so really solid there. There's just a darkness that is just, all over both of these. And I don't need that to retain throughout the entire show. Sure. I want everything to have its own flavor and its own style. That's the whole point of having different directors. But I thought these complemented each other well. And I'll be very curious to see if the next 2 episodes complement each other well and they paired them in certain ways,
Yeah, that's what I feel like would make the most sense, that they would be matched as far as like the style and then the message of the story.
So I feel like we're just going to repeat ourselves in Graveyard Rats when we do it. So, oh well. All right, so let's get into the spoilers of this episode. So we get this Twilight Zone type opening. I guess this isn't really a spoiler, but Del Toro comes out. He introduces the episode. He looks like he opens up a cabinet or a box from the game The Room, as you pointed out.
Yep.
A game I've beat all 5 versions of and love. And so we get this opening of this guy who's watching George W.H. Bush on the TV, the Iraq War. So this has got to be set in the late 80s, early 90s. And I remember Desert Storm as a kid. I want to say it was the early 90s, 90, but it could have been late 80s. I honestly don't remember, but it ran for a little while. So you got that time period, because I'm pretty sure Bush Sr. was in office from 88 to 92, if memory serves. So around that time period, the story's set. I don't think they ever say a specific date on the screen. No. So that's what we have to work off of. So when they do the storage auctioning, I watched a lot of Storage Wars. Not honestly sure why. It's something I do know why. It's the treasure hunter aspect of it, and it's like, what the hell's in there? And I really, really enjoyed watching it when I was, and just sometimes you buy these things for a lot of money and they pan out to be nothing, and sometimes everyone's looking in there, they don't want anything.
Yeah, it's like a giant mystery box.
Sure. So you're taking a huge gamble. And the way that they do it in here, now this might have a reason behind it, is that when they open up the door, everyone is allowed to look inside. They're not allowed to step past the threshold, right? They're not allowed to go in there and look through stuff. They only can just look from the outside. Almost no one gets to look in this thing. They're all spread out. And from, he's like, oh, all you get is like a look and a sniff or something. I'm like, 90% of them didn't even get a look. Yes. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. At least that's how Storage Wars tells me it's not how it works. Sure. So they get to come and everyone gets to get a look. But I'm sure they're just trying to speed things along. And my answer for that is because him and the dude who runs the place are kind of running a scam a bit.
Yes.
Right? He's paying him off to get it, but he still has to out-auction these people. Yeah. The other guy's skimming from the till, and maybe gives him good leads, right? So there is a scam going on of sorts. But I did find it, of course, ironic that he clearly is racist and
racist.
Is working in tandem with a black man.
Yeah, his character, I mean, as you said, both episodes so far do not have likable protagonists, and he's definitely a tough one because on one hand, it's like, he's a veteran, and he really feels put out by the country that he, served
Sure.
And so like there's that element that's like really sad, but then it's just depressing to see when people become so bitter that they kind of place blame on other people that have nothing really to do with what happened to them. So I feel bad for him on one hand, but on the other hand I also think he's a total piece of shit, so I'm like,
yeah,
it's tough for sure.
it is. So he buys it, and then he, as we had said, he's in debt. He needs money fast. So he finds out that this guy who owned this place for years, since 45, or that's what Kaylee said.
That's what I thought I heard them say. Was that,
it would make sense because that's when World War II ended. He would have came over. He's part of the Nazi regime in some way or another. He brought his occult stuff with him.
Yeah, and it also explains why the storage facility is so poorly maintained.
Dilapidated.
Awful, yes.
Yeah. Right, sure. It's been there a long ass time, and no one's catered to it much.
Yeah.
So when he shows him the footage, now this is part of that stuff where it feels rushed through because they show in the footage, and this can just kind of add to the mystery of things, but it would have been cool to address it in some way or another. And if we missed it, please let us know. But this guy does a hop, like a skip and a hop in there ritualistically, OCD, I don't know. He hops like 3 or 4 hops like he's playing hopscotch. He opens the door, and when he comes out, he hops again. Now he brings a bag in with him, and he brings a bag out empty with him. So he brings something in there every day for like 40 years or so. Now, once they get in there and we find out what's beyond the veil, it's like it's just this corpse laying in the center of a circle, one of those sand freaking salt circles or whatever the hell, to house the evil that we've seen a million times. You can't break the circle, otherwise the entity can get out, whatever. So what is he bringing in there? I mean
he's chopping like something up. I don't know what it is that he's chopping up in the beginning, but whatever it is, I feel like he's bringing to feed the demon. Yeah.
For what reason?
Trying to keep it like tethered to this reality.
So that, okay.
But I mean, I agree
this
with
is
you.
where
This is where there needs to be some expansion on like what's actually happening. But I think that like
the thing in the middle of the room is his sister.
The body belonged to his sister, and then the demon took her face and lives inside of that body now. So he sacrificed his sister, and so the German like collector guy that comes with him, from what I remember, he was saying is that he like there's some type of ritual for an agreement where like as long as the human host and the book and the demon are all like still working together, then the book remains. But once that's like accomplished, then the book and the host burn up.
Right.
So obviously neither of those things, it didn't happen like that because the guy just dies. Although whether or not that's supernatural or not, I don't know.
The book burns, right, as soon as he kills the other guy.
Mm-hmm. But I mean the original owner of the storage unit.
But the occultist guy who he brings with him, it's when he gets munched that the book starts burning in his hand. Right? The other guy, the main guy. Right? So why does the book burn then?
I don't know. But this is, I think, where we need maybe more time.
Because he was trying to like make a deal with him when he came in with the candelabra.
Yes, maybe, but he didn't, which is what we thought, but he didn't say anything. Like there was no.
I thought he was going to read from
him,
the other books.
But he was warning him not to break the circle and everything. So
you would think because the main guy's the one who grabbed the book, he would be the one tethered to the book. But maybe because he was leaving without making a deal, that's why the book burned.
Honestly, I feel like I would need to watch that part of the episode again where they're describing what the whole ritual is. Because I was paying attention, but I feel like maybe we missed something that was going on there.
It's possible.
I don't know, but I do think that there needs to be more to the story, because we don't really get any explanation for why this old man is like hopping into the storage unit each day, and then also when he leaves he does the hop, and like that obviously means something. It does add like the mystery and the atmosphere, so I'm fine with it not being explained, but and maybe I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd have to think about the second episode, because, like, Cabinet of Curiosities, there could just be some open-ended things in each of these, potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really left with any curiosities at the end of the second episode. I feel like every question's answered.
I mean, I am, kind of.
Really?
Yeah. Which we can talk about in that review.
Sure. We don't want to get into spoilers here on that episode.
Yeah.
I thought that they would use the timed light for a different kind of scare or fear sequence, right? I thought that like the monster was going to be in the hallway with him, and he was going to have his eyes on him, and then the light would go off and he'd lose sight of it, right? Like maybe he had it in his sights because he was going to defeat it or whatever, and then the lights go off and he misses his opportunity because of it or something. And then, yeah, I mean, he gets his comeuppance because he's horrible to this woman. Why she's just living there now? She's been there all day and night, just waiting, like, for what? Just to, like, stare at him? And, like, what's her plan? It just feels...
intimidation.
It feels very convenient that she just so happens to be there still after hours and hours. But she doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
She just kind of hangs. And when he comes... You never shush a human being away. When he comes in, he's like, shoo, shoo.
Yes,
right,
he's horrible to her. But I think she's just upset. Yes, she is very, like, it's, like, cryptic why she's, like, standing there watching. Like, does she know what was going on in that storage unit so that she's, like, waiting for him to find it?
Maybe, but I don't
that was
think so.
sort of what I was getting from it. I don't think that's the case. I think she's just upset with him and is maybe honestly just waiting for a time that she could somehow get into her storage unit and get some of her things. It is convenient, but I like it because, he's horrible to her and she gets to have her revenge,
Maybe it would have been fleshed out in a feature length.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been cool to see this as a full film.
Yeah.
But, as you said, the design of the creature...
The tentacle monster.
was wonderful. It's very cosmic horror looking. So I really loved that.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think the acting was really great from everybody too. I was really actually, I don't want to say impressed, but just like I was really into the dialogue, like the writing. Mm-hmm. I thought that everybody was like, not only were they delivering their lines really well, but I also just felt like it was cleverly written and just like it flowed really nicely for me.
Yeah, I like storage unit horror. I've seen a few, and I actually was working on a script once upon a time of storage units, just because there's like so many mysteries in every single one of those, individual rooms. And I just thought it was a great setting for horror. So to see one here, in addition to other, there's not a lot, but I've seen a couple. It's cool to see. So, overall, maybe you guys can answer our questions.
Yeah, let us
maybe you're
know.
Smarter than us. That's not that hard. And you can let us know. Yeah. Any answers for the questions that we got? Maybe we'll watch it again, but we don't have time, so probably not.
Just tell us.
Yeah.
We liked it.
We did like it. We did like it. I mean, none of these questions pissed me off or made me go, oh, God, why? I just wish there was more.
Yes.
That's all. But, yeah, let us know. And moving on to the next. Bye.
Bye.